Hey, I'm going to introduce the married couple in the band to you right now. Not only they're married to each other. Nice. This is the cultural portion of the show. They're going to pose for you right now. This is what we call Bluegrass Gothic.
Only appropriate in the Egg Center, right?
That's true, very appropriate in the Egg Center. Well, our bass player is a former punk rock drummer from Wisconsin, and he moved over to Minnesota at the age of 18 and was playing in the seedy bars of Minneapolis for many a year until he discovered bluegrass music. He was invited to a jam, and he was invited to play bass and learn how to play that bass and playing old-time bluegrass music, and it was at that jam that he met Lisa early in the morning.
Well, late in the morning.
Oh,
but
late in the morning.
From the other end of the day.
I see.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how jams go, you know. But he does a lot for the band. He drives our rig out there. We do about he drives about 50,000 miles a year behind the wheel on our Mercedes Sprinter, and he does a lot of work with doing road managing work, and he does our website. And he is also the bounciest bass player in bluegrass music. Put your hands together for Mr. Mark Anderson.
And then somebody I've known all my life. In fact, I kind of was inspired to play fiddle. Sometimes I feel like I played the fiddle. I don't know. We had twin boys, and when they were little, that was kind of what I did.
Yeah, well, you know, it reminds me of... See, Lisa was born in Nigeria, Africa, but she's 100% Norwegian from northern Minnesota. That's where her parents are from, you know. They're way up there in a town called Yulin. Now, does anybody know where Yulin is? You do. Well, talk to Lisa later. We'll find out how you're related. That's the first thing. And now, there's a type of fiddle in Swedish music called the hardanger fiddle, and it's got drone strings, and it sounds a little wonky. And well, I'll tell you, when they put that fiddle, you thought, you know, being Norwegian, she'd be able to play a hardanger fiddle, but boy, when she played it, it sounded more like a galdanger fiddle. We'll
leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. So
anyway, won't you please now welcome one of my favorite singers in bluegrass? That would be me, Lisa Figley. Woo! Thank you.
Girl, you really got me now. You got me going, I don't know where I'm going.
Here's one that Mark and I co-wrote. Hope you enjoy. Micah 6:8. We never learn, and over an eye leaves both blind. A pound of flesh for an ounce of crime, and no one wins, no wheel just spins. He has shown you, oh man, what is good. What does Yahweh require of you? Act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. Let mercy fall like gentle rain, without compulsion, without strain. When grace is real, we all can heal. When we forgive another's debts, we free ourselves to love, and yet we all need those we miss the most. He has shown you, oh man, what is good. What does Yahweh require of you? Act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God.
and walk humbly with your God. And just leave the mercy and walk humbly with your God. And just leave the mercy and walk humbly with your God. Thank you. Okay, now it's time to introduce the real stars of Monroe Crossing, and that would be our instruments. We have all Minnesota-made instruments up here. The guitars and the mandolins made by Lloyd LaPlante from Grand Rapids, Minnesota. The fiddle, Lisa's fiddle, and that thing. The Eminence bass made by Gary Bartig from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And our banjo player David, he's playing a mandolin made by Tom Neckville. Tom Neckville from our banjo from Tom Neckville from Minneapolis, Minnesota. He's the guy who supplies a lot of people with banjos like Bella Fleck and Steve Martin. They play Tom Neckville banjos. And the dobro back here is also from Larry Selden from the Minneapolis area. The stars of Monroe Crossing, the instruments. Well, we're going to do a song by one of my favorite bluegrass musicians, and this is a song by Jimmy Martin. We'll have David kick this one off. A song called Honey, You Don't Know My Mind. Very good.
Minnesota, or if you're from that area, Julen, and that's where everybody is Norwegian, or if they're not, then they wish they were. And you hear, when you're walking down the street, you hear somebody saying things like, "Oh, are you in town today too, then?" I swear, I'm not acting that up.
That's just because there's nobody in town anymore and they're surprised to see somebody. Look, a face!
Oh yeah, you know, like my grandmother, she was a funny one. She would she had all those Norwegian sayings, and you know, how are you today? Oh, not so bad. You know, you don't want to say you're really good because that's like tempting fate. Oh, not so bad. But today, one day she went out on an outing and coming back, she explained where she had been. Yeah, today I went to a funeral and had such a good time.
You know, I know some people I could say that about. I'm just saying.
Well, you know, it's funny. When I was born in Nigeria, I was born in Africa, and that was, they didn't tell my grandparents they were expecting a baby because it was during a war and didn't want her to worry. And so when news finally made it back to Yulin about my being born, she said, well, I suppose they can have babies there too. So she attended this little old country church just outside of town, and it was one that all of my grandparents and my parents and basically everyone in the family attended, and we played what happened to be the final service at this little church before they moved the congregation to a newer, bigger church in town. And Matt thought that was a good topic for a song, so Mark took up the challenge and wrote this tune called like the Atlanta Church, and it's going to